You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
You can put it on the board! Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. And if you don't want to do that, give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. And tell them the Sports Circus sent you. Yes! What could be better? Right? So here is your ringmaster wearing what? The ringmaster's hat. Rather snazzy. And guess what, folks? It's kind of a circus show today. So you never know what's going to happen. We've already had a circus previous to the show. So now we're just continuing on with the show. And we have a very, very special guest. And we've never done this kind of thing before. No circus stuff. But guess what? We are the circus. And yes, we prove it every day. And here she is to introduce herself. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Shenea Stiletto. I am a two-time world champion in acrobatic gymnastics, a circus artist, and an overall circuspreneur and circus advocate.
Yes, and she says circuspreneur. Yes, what is a circuspreneur?
Well, it's an entrepreneur of the circus. It's really the only way to exist in this environment. You've got to be able to be in the game, you've got to stay competitive, and you really have to be able to advocate for yourself and be business-minded to make it in this industry.
I have to tell you, we've never had a circuspreneur on here, but you're a performer as well. Tell everybody about your ridiculous mad skills.
I am a solo hand balancer. I can also do a bit of contortion. I also do an acrobatic duo where I have a male partner that throws me all over the stage, balances me literally on his head, and holds me up in a one-arm handstand to a snazzy little track 4 to 6 nights a week.
Okay, so throws you in the air and does all kinds of acrobatic things with you in the air, I would imagine. So,
yes.
So it's kind of like, when you're on the diving board. So, when somebody jumps off the diving board and then they do some crazy pose or whatever the hell it is, or they'll spin 800 times. You do that kind of stuff then, is what you're saying.
Think that, but with no water.
With no water. No safety net, no water, no nothing.
No soft landing, just a man.
Oh, just a man. And if the man can't catch you, well,
the floor does.
The floor catches you. And the floor never misses either, as I understand it. I guess if you know what I mean, right? Yeah, they never miss. So how long have you been in the circus rodeo? Because I guess that's kind of what it is at this point, isn't it?
Oh yes, I've been in the circus now for over 18 years. So I've been in a minute or two. I've got my feet wet.
Okay, great. How did you get involved in it? Give everybody the 1 minute on how the heck you got involved in this.
I used to compete for USA Gymnastics. Cirque du Soleil scouted us from when we were really young children, and it's a pretty easy through line from the competitive gymnastics world into the circus or cirque world.
Okay, all right. So from a young age, a very young, small, well, you're kind of small anyway. It is what it is, right? So I've stood next to you, and you're not really the slam dunk kind of girl, right? But I don't think you're going to go up and slam dunk the ball over, pick your favorite NBA star. But what I do know is that you've been in this for quite some time, but you started out in gymnastics as just probably a little kid. At what age did you start?
I started a little late. I started a little old. I was transitioning into 8 years old when I started to compete in gymnastics. Usually people start when they're like 3 or 4 years old, but they decided that they would take me anywhere. Anyway, so there was over a decade of competing in gymnastics before I started my over decades long career in the circus.
Okay, so over a decade long, how many years have you been involved in the circus world?
In the circus world, I would say at this point, about 22 years.
Wow. All right. And so was that like during high school, during grade school? When did you start the circus rodeo?
The circus started when I was a teen, so probably around the age of around 15 or 16. That's when I started to perform and do circus in the off season for gymnastics. We used it to supplement. It's very expensive to compete in gymnastics, and so we started doing circus on the side.
Okay, well, it's kind of a cool side gig, little side hustle. Let's just do the circus, right? I think of that. I mean, what would I want to do? Maybe I'd like to work in a carnival, but I would like to be the one to show people, here's how you land a quarter on a glass plate, which I'm an expert at. Honest to God, that's the one thing. I have won more stuffed toys dropping a quarter or a dime on a glass plate than any other game.
I've been hustling for a long time. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, all right. So you've been hustling in the circus rodeo. But what I find... Look, my sister was a gymnast growing up, but I grew up around gymnasts and watching them and whatnot, and oogling over the girls when I was a young boy, right? Whatever. It is what it is. If I didn't, well, it is whatever. But my point is, I was always around super athletes, right? And, great dexterity, just amazing skills and strength. I think a lot of people seem to miss the idea of how strong the gymnasts are in the first place, which is a natural progression, of course, to the hand-to-hand stuff and whatnot. So when you started with gymnastics, what exactly did you do? Were you doing the uneven bars, the beam? What were you doing? The floor?
Well, this is the thing. I did a discipline of gymnastics. That's the non-traditional version and it's called acrobatic gymnastics. So it was partner work. It's a non-Olympic discipline. And it's still quite unique, even though it's much more mainstream now. People call it acro. If you've seen acro yoga, that's basically what we teach children, how to do acro. And then it became this, full-on kind of combination between acro and yoga. So that's basically the derivative of my sport. I started out competing with 2 other girls, and they would toss me up in the air, hold me over their heads, and then I transitioned into competing as a mixed pair. So that is a boy and a girl. So I didn't do the traditional aspect of gymnastics. It is under the umbrella of USA Gymnastics. So my friends were doing the beam, the uneven bars. Acrobatic gymnastics is all floor, all tumbling, and then you have that strength and those one-arm handstand moves.
All right, so talk about the transition from gymnastics to circus activity.
Oh, well, it's a gym, right? And it's an entire thing because now you're selling yourself. My old coach used to say every single person that transitioned into the circus is a little bit of a prostitute because now you're not just competing for marks, you're selling something. You're selling yourself, you're selling how people see you, and you're going into an environment that's very equalizing. It can't sometimes matter that you're a world champion because everybody is on stage existing as the exact same way. You might turn into a butterfly, right? You may no longer be that champion artist or that champion competitor that you existed as previously because now you are in a jaguar costume for several thousand people and, waiting for a different type of applause. And if it doesn't work, you got to figure it out and you got to do something better.
There's the applause, right? Hey, listen, ask and you shall receive. But see, okay, so you've got to be really strong. Come on, make that muscle. What do you got? Show that muscle. Look at that. Look at that. Yes. I mean, look. Hey, listen, that's a little intimidating to pick the average guy out there because most guys are like mashed potatoes these days, right? They're too busy playing on their telephones and use the remote control for their computer screens, right? And let's face it, most people these days seem to be a little bit soft. Would you agree or disagree? Come on now. It's only us. It's okay.
I mean, I have to say that this generation, I want it to exist. I want it to come back. And we used to go hard, and I don't think that people go as hard as they used to. Honestly speaking.
Right.
I usually say that these are fake muscles, though. They're for show.
Yeah, whatever. I know, because you just kind of tuck them in there, right? Get out of here. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, they deflate, inflate.
Yeah, something like that. Now, folks, if you've never seen this wonderful human in person, I can assure you, this is somebody that has real muscles. This is a very, very strong human. But at the same time, she's kind of fun size, right? I mean, so you kind of fold her up, put her in your pocket, whatever. And so, it's probably great when it goes to like going to the movie theater, your significant other can kind of put you in the pocket and say, hey, here she is. And then here's this muscle-bound girl just kind of comes out of nowhere.
I'm always a discount. I'm a good date.
Hey, well, listen, for all you guys that are looking, she's taken. No, you can't do it. All right, listen, take 30 seconds. Give a final thought on why people are soft these days, and then we're going to go to break.
Well, I come from the traditional background from those that were raised in the Soviet Union, and I think that we've lost that competitive edge. I think when it comes down to everyone getting participation medals and everyone getting a piece of the pie, I actually think that it's very healthy to lose.
Well, I'll tell you what, and that is a very good final word here from our special guest, and you could call her Shenea. She's going to be back here with me, your Ringmaster Sal here. Listen, folks, anything can happen. It's live. We make mistakes all the time, and that's the fun of it. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back in just a few moments.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AmpTV studio. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are podcasts. No, we don't do a podcast, yet all of our shows are recorded in their entirety and stored as raw audio files, because you're going to hear this on our recorded show page. I love that stuff. Whether it's Apple or Google or Spotify or whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter. Listen, you're going to hear this screw up just because I'm going to leave it in there. All right, so make sure that you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, also our partners. Lots of great partners. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! Well, they've been with us since 2016. That's just a minute. And probably, a couple thousand shows. Quite a few. Listen, folks. Anything could happen here. And by the way, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome to everybody else that's listening in up and down the West Coast, from Los Angeles all the way up to Seattle and a whole bunch of points in between, even over in Chicagoland. Big hello to our friends down in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, Auburn, Alabama, home of the Atlanta Braves, WAUD. Of course, always get a big round of applause. War Eagle down there, and everybody else on television, watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and Wild Cable TV, and Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast in all Nielsen rated markets. Back here with our very, very special guest, the lovely Shenea Stiletto. And she is a world-class gymnast, a two-time world champion. Oh, by the way, a circus acrobat. She does the hand-to-hand stuff, when you see those crazy balancing things and whatnot. She does all that stuff. And so it was kind of fitting that we brought music back, even though it was a trapeze music, right? The Man of the Flying Trapeze. But you probably could do that too, couldn't you?
Oh yes. I have a talent and the skill to kind of go into a lot of different fields within the circus arts. So I'm pretty lucky. But the gymnastics background helps with all of that.
Right. Oh, by the way, a big hello from our friend Ron. I've known Ron since grade school. He's down in Kentucky. We used to play grade school baseball together, high school baseball together, and he says that you're telling it like it is. All right, hey, we like that. Ooh. And listen, if you have a question for Shenea, right? Look at it, she even dances too. If you have a question for her, she'll give you the answer, because guess what? I'm only here hosting the rodeo, and that's basically it. But the best part about it is we have a circus performer on here, which we've never had. I mean, I'm a circus clown, I suppose, right? I mean, you can kind of look at it that way. That's kind of what I do. But nonetheless, she's a real performer that's done this around the world and training in Russia and this place and that place. Okay, so let's take a 1 month period. How many countries did you visit in 1 month just from a training standpoint?
From a training standpoint, yeah. I could have visited, anywhere from 4 to 7 countries within that month, with training camps, with competitions, and with getting choreography done or specialty training. So I've been traveling internationally and around the world since I was a really little girl, and then that kind of was the pathway into traveling all over the world for circus.
Okay, so a question from Ron in Kentucky says, what was your biggest challenge in achieving athletic success?
Oh, what wasn't? I think the question is what wasn't. What was the biggest challenge? Well, I think at that point there was very little funding. The funding is much better now, but having to go up against that level of funding to be able to have a career like that when you're competing, you're spending thousands of dollars a month to go all over the world, to have access to the best gyms, to the best choreographers, to have access to the best leotards, to the best of the best for everything. And so there is a very high cost. It's very, I think, elitist. It still is now. And so you've got to have some deep pockets to be able to have a career like that. So it does definitely come down to money. The other thing is being trained by those from the Soviet Union and and learning the politics of the environment. There is no competition without politics. You can be the best out there and still come in dead last. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so what about, now that you mentioned Soviet Union, right? Let's think about you're being over there, all right? And so there is a certain degree of pressure that comes from over there versus over here. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, they couldn't even go as hard with us as they wanted to. Imagine that. And they were still killing us. I mean, they were still pushing us as hard as they could. So, that's 2 trainings a day. That's 4 to 5 hours in the gym. That's starting off at 6 a.m. and starting to do triple backs by about 6:30 in the morning, and calling home maybe once a week collect. This was before Zoom. This was before you could call in and Skype in. And you're basically a part of a system that turns out machines. You're doing 40 plus routines basically a day, as opposed to when you're America, no one wants to push you maybe harder than doing 5 to 6 of those, just to give you a kind of example of what the unique difference is. So it was working until you were literally so sick until you were beyond excellent.
Okay, so I think back to the earlier Olympic times, back when I was a kid. I think of like the Nadia Comaneci, right? That kind of stuff. I
know her.
Right, so we think of the ridiculous regimen of workout and diet and everything. What does it look like? Is it 10 hours a day of workout, 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours? What is it?
8 to 10 hours a day, but it kind of feels like it is all day. I mean, because in between that, you're doing homework. So I was homeschooled. For a portion of that, I was not homeschooled. I was actually doing work and taking that with me to all of these different countries and not having access to any tutors or anyone to be able to help me with that. So you're going 4 hours, 5 hours in the gym in the morning, and then you're coming home, you're doing 4 to 5 to 6 hours of homework, and then you're going back into the gym for another 4 to 5 hours, and then waking up at about 5 o'clock in the morning to do it all over again. And it's diet, it's all of those things maxed in together. There is no success without making sure that you are high performance, that you're taking care of yourself, that you're eating the proper things. In today's perspective, it might have seemed a little bit extreme, but in those days, and I still think, there is only a certain way to be able to attain that level of excellence, and all of those things go in together. So it's maximizing everything that you have, and essentially, not being overly anything that'll take you out of the game, that'll lead to any types of injuries, because the least of that is what is going to keep you ahead of everybody else. So
a follow-up question from Ron says, so it's break you down and build you back up.
I don't think there was any building of the backup. I don't think I got one comment that was encouraging that entire time. I never felt excellent, even when I won world championships. And my coaches told me very clearly, if you ever go around acting like you're something special, you're going to hear from us no matter what age you are. So it was humbling every single second of every single day. And I never got any feedback that I was ever any good. It didn't matter how well I did. And that was definitely, I think, personality and character building.
Well, I get that. I mean, to a degree, look, you can only beat somebody up so much, right? Then I guess you're just completely calloused at one point. You're like, okay, fine. I can't take a compliment. I can't take anything because none of it even matters anymore. But what they've done is they've molded you into really a part of a team that the personal stuff doesn't even matter. You are the team. That's it. There is no name on the back of the jersey. It's maybe a number or a flag. That's it. Right or wrong?
Oh, no, absolutely. And I was fortunate. I had the very kind coaches. I had the kind Russian, Ukrainian, Bulgarian coaches. For those listening out there, I was with the ones that were incredibly compassionate and incredibly gentle with me as well. But I think also, too, a part of doing a competitive sport with partners, you know that it's very interdependent and that you're always going to be dependent on others for your success. So it wasn't a singular competitive environment. You always knew that it was the mistake of you both, and that it never existed or rested on anyone's shoulders. And that taught me a lot from a very young age.
So what about dealing with the public after the shows and stuff? Would you go and mingle and interact with them? Because I'm sure they'd have 1,000 questions for you, right? Or they'd want to feel your arm too.
Oh, all of those combined. You're used to being felt up, essentially, which is really shocking for those that are not in this industry. They can't imagine just someone going up to them, touching their stomach, touching their arms, wanting them to take off their shirt. I mean, take off their robe. But you get a lot of suggestive comments that are completely innocent. And then you get used to also creating boundaries and barriers with the audience. The first thing is usually people just want to hear your voice. They don't hear from us very often. We're silent performers, and they don't know how you're going to sound. For me, usually too, I get the fact that I'm even American is really shocking for people, because Americans weren't for a very long time a part of this environment of circus. And so they want to hear your voice, and then they want to ask, what's your background? Where did you come from? How did you do this? So for me, it's more or less the humanity that comes through in speaking with us and hearing the fact that we are real people and that we have real lives.
Well, not only that, but you also speak very well, too. And in many cases, people aren't used to hearing. Like you said, the performers, they're used to seeing them and oogling over them like, wow, look at that. Look at the washboard stomach, the whole thing ripped up to no end. And, beautiful, all that fun stuff. But they're like, wow, they have a brain? Wow, they speak? What? Really? I mean, and these are the things that go through people's heads, because they're thinking, who is this person? Do they have a personality? Yes, as a matter of fact, they have a big personality. You just don't know them at that level. And that's what we're doing here on the circus. We're trying to get to know you, Shenea Stiletto. Yes, here on the Sports Circus. We're going to be back with her and more. In fact, we're going to get some stories when we come back from break. So, folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on this ridiculous show. Don't go anywhere. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you by our remarkable guest. Her name is Shenea Stiletto, and you know what? She does her own little show, too. In fact, we're going to let her talk a little bit about that right now. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sal. I run the Circuspreneur podcast, and it's where I share and bring the humanity of the circus industry and the circus world to the general population and to the audience, because the audience is so valuable to us. But I started trying to answer all of those questions that you've said people ask whenever they see me post show. And I thought, you know what? What an opportunity to have a global audience and to have a global participation from the circus arts, because I know everyone in literally every single part of the world. There's almost not one country I have not almost been to or know someone that circuses in that part of the world. And I also wanted to do it for advocacy. I wanted to kind of lift the veil for the circus arts industry and show the issues, the difficulties, the problems, the realities that we have in this industry that people and most audiences think are already solved, and to show the complexity behind this environment and what it takes to move and shake as a circus industry worker, a circus industry professional, and I think as a overall circuspreneur.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And where can people find your show?
You can find my show on all platforms. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all the things podcast.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So you mentioned the word circuspreneur.
Oh, yes.
What in the world is that for our listening and viewing audience?
Well, that word, I say circus is obviously the artistic version of that, and preneur is business-minded logic. And unless you pair those two, there's no way that you're going to survive in this business. It doesn't really matter if you're an independent performer, if you're running your own company, or if you happen to be a resident performer in a show in a golden cage, as we like to call it, with a company more or less like a Cirque du Soleil.
Okay, so another question here. Back from Ron from Kentucky says, with your time in Russia, were you able to make lifetime friends or mentors?
That's a really great question, and thank you for asking that. So many of us that you see in... yeah, we need to give a round of applause for that one. I think that's not a question that I get asked often enough, because I actually did. And so many of my friends are from that period of my life. And so many of us sometimes have seen each other once a year. We stay close with each other virtually, or we end up in the same shows. Even my partner that I perform with right now, we competed together when we were little, and now we work together. He's from Poland, and we competed in the exact same generation, and life brought us together about a decade later. And so the remarkable part is having friends and connections from those parts of the world, and then relating and going in and out of those countries and those environments for so many years over the course of my life. But so many of us have known each other literally since we were kids. We are really an international family, an international circus community.
Okay, so another question that just came in on text, because people are watching this in different platforms, and they said, this is crazy. They said, talk about the trust and relationships and real relationships that go like from between, how couples come together from the trust side all the way through maybe marriage and family and stuff like this.
Oh, that's also a very good question. Well, even for my duo, my partnership, my acrobatic duo, everyone thinks that we're married or that we're dating, and we're actually not. We're very platonic, and that's something that can come from the acrobatic competitive world. You get very used to performing with people and competing with them in very intimate ways, but being incredibly platonic. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a brother-sister thing. It's more or less like a coworker thing, and it can feel very much like that. You get in there, you are acting, it is a job. Whenever anyone says, "Are you a couple?" I said, well, we definitely did our job well, because we sold what we were trying to sell here. It is a job, it is acting, we are performers. And, you're very intimately involved, and you both need to be counting on each other and taking care of yourselves. And, the porter, the one that's on the bottom, that's a very stressful position to be in. They are just as nervous as you think that they are every single day, because he knows, or they know, that I'm depending on them for my life every single time we go on stage. So if he's tired, if he is hungover, if he's not feeling well, if he's sick, all of those things come into play, and I think probably times 10 when you're in our environment, because there are essentially no days off. There are no days off. It's you, and then it's you. There's no backups.
Yeah, so it's more platonic rather than atomic. See what I did there? Come on, hey, listen, tip your waiter. I'm here all week. It's okay. But no, we have to think about that, because work is work. Right? Let's focus on work. Let's not go beyond this, because we have a job to do. And not only are our lives depending on it, but also all the audience is depending on it too.
Oh, yes. And, a lot of couples and a lot of performers actually do marry, because it's a lifestyle. The circus arts is definitely a lifestyle, and you are traveling all over the world together. And to be able to keep a relationship going, to be honest, sometimes the best thing to do is to perform or work with your significant other, even if you didn't start out like that. A lot of people end up transitioning into doing that, because from spending all that time together and from touching, it kind of turns into more, which is wonderful and lovely when that does happen. So you will find a lot of people that are married, or at least they are dating.
But it's got to be hard to work with the person that you're dating or married to, because you're like, look, I need a break, man. The house isn't big enough. I just need to get away sometimes, right? I would imagine. Look, everybody goes through that, I would imagine, even in the circus business, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not for the faint of heart.
It's like, get away from me! No.
If you touch me just one more time, if I have to do one more handstand with you, if I have to catch her one more time. I mean, and that's the thing too. You could be fighting in your personal life and then have to go on stage and catch somebody from 20 or 30 feet in the air. So the level of skill and the level of interdependence, and I think nonviolent communication skills, really goes a long way. And I think that speaks to how brilliantly mature this environment is. And we should probably get more credit for it than we do, for being able to have those relationships that are very intimate, emotional, but that can also transition into something that is death-defying and very dangerous.
Okay, I'm going to take you back to gymnastics for a moment. So go back to scoring. And I've watched so much scoring in these Olympics and this and that, whatever. Well, this one gets a 9.9. This one gets a 9.4. This one gets a 10. Okay. In baseball, for example, we have a way to kind of self-correct the umpires, if you will. I mean, look, I'm not saying this happens, but what I will tell you is that sometimes if a umpire gets a call wrong, maybe the pitcher throws it right down the middle. Man, that's a strike all day, 12 days a week. And so it happens, and twice on Sunday. So what happens if the scoring is wrong? See, what we could do in baseball from the pitcher standpoint is I can ask the catcher, set up on the outside of the plate, and I could throw it right down the middle and hit the umpire right in the face with the ball. I'll fix your clock, buddy. Right? Oh, sorry. Oh, he set up over there. Just got away from me. Whatever. And there's no way to correct that. Is there any way to correct or influence the scorer's table, so to say, or the panel? Let's say, hey, you've got 9.9, 9.9, 9.9, 10. 9.4? What in the world just happened there? It's not like you could throw out the high and the low in all cases, right? And then take a moving average or take the median? Or the mean? How does that work in gymnastics scoring?
Well, you have to go in and fight it, and hopefully you have someone that can fight it on your behalf, because that happens all the time. The other thing that's difficult is that the scoring changes all the time. So even if you felt like you had like a lead-in and you understood the system previously to that, the next time you go up to bat, the scoring could be completely different, and then you have to use different tactics. But it's not easy. And like I said before, it gets incredibly political. And so those deals should have been made the night or the week prior, to be honest.
She says the deals should have been made. What are those? Look, you've got 1 minute. Talk about those deals in air quotes.
Well, I'm sure most people have heard this from figure skating and from other environments that have kind of been accused of this, but it's a system that no one really likes to discuss or talk about. They don't like to project the fact that these environments are, I think, highly corrupt and highly political, and that if you don't engage in that you will be sorely, sorely lost on just your abilities, your talents, and your good competitive skills alone. It's not going to work for you.
Well, that's interesting stuff. I like that. I like that you brought it there, because that gives me a whole nother bag of goodies to talk about in the next segment. Because look, folks, there's politics in everything, like it or not. And they say, well, sport is supposed to bring you away from politics. No, it doesn't do that. No, it puts you right smack in the middle of it. And the whole thing is just a colossal explosion. If you look at it, like, what the hell's going on? That pitch was right down the middle, or that was a perfect performance, or that was a touchdown. Wait, that was an interference. Oh, no, it wasn't. You know why? Because... Show me the money! Yeah, show me the money. The money is always involved. You know why? There's gambling in everything now, and I think it blows. But anyway, folks, we're going to be back with Shenea Stiletto, who is a world champion gymnast, a circus performer, a circus advocate, and also a host of her own show. Back here in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come, folks. You don't want to miss this one. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Al Bubba Baker, quarterback breaker and the rib maker.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, again, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are a podcast, also our partners. By the way, coming up very soon, we don't have the date just yet, but it's coming up very soon. We're going to be featuring the great Wayne Newton here on the Sports Circus. Yes! Boy, what a cool guy. You know, Wayne's just one of those guys. You know, the guy can play 13 instruments, and he's still doing it at 80-odd years old, whatever it is. What a great performer and just a wonderful human being. Again, Wayne always gets a big round of applause here, just like our friends, the Bronx Wanderers, right here in town, here in Las Vegas. Very good friends of the Sports Circus. Alan's doing a great job with them. Of course, they always get the applause. In fact, they get the super applause because we can. All right, so make sure you check them out, Bronx Wanderers as well, and all of our other upcoming guests. Lots of great guests on the show. That's the one cool thing we do here. If you don't like anything else, get over it. But we do have great guests in here, and there is chaos, I can assure you of that. All right, back here on all of our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our cable providers, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and Oceanic cable providers from coast to coast, and hotel television in over 500,000 rooms in all Nielsen-rated markets. Back here with Shenea Stiletto, who is a circus performer, a circuspreneur, a circus advocate, a world champion gymnast, and I don't know, what else is there? Tank commander? What else do we have?
Honorary Olympian.
Oh, can't forget that.
Oh, yes, a title that was...
Hold that thought. How does one become an honorary Olympian? What's that all about?
I am so glad that you asked, because it was a title that they literally had to create for me and my acrobatic gymnastics partner, because we are in the discipline of USA Gymnastics that is non-Olympic, but we had done something so historic. I was the first ever American world champion in acrobatic gymnastics. It was unheard of. When I can just say
That's
it was
incredible.
Absolutely unheard of. Thank you. I mean, when the Americans showed up and, had a chance or had a shot, and this was...
I love that. When the Americans showed up, right? Right, as if, hey, we weren't even invited to the party when we just kind of showed up.
Oh, we were consistently laughed at. I mean, we were literally the butt of all jokes prior to us winning that World Championships. And then following it up with doing a second World Championships. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh yes, it wasn't something easy to get out of and to get away from. And so because we had done that, and then we were inducted into the USA Gymnastics Hall of Fame after that as well. But because of that, they basically said, you deserve to be on the Olympic tour. You deserve to have this status. And we also competed at a time, thanks Simone Biles at this moment in time, where she's doing just the absolute most difficulty that you could imagine in artistic gymnastics. We did that years ago prior to her doing that now. So, they used to call us the Simone Biles of that generation.
What's interesting you said is we think of what Simone Biles is doing and what you basically paved the road for already. Now think about this. We've seen this transition in sports from football to baseball to basketball, whatever it is, right? And in basketball, people say, well, Magic Johnson was this great passer and stuff, and Magic was incredible. Earvin Magic Johnson, just a phenomenal athlete, of course. But Magic Johnson wasn't the first guy to do those crazy passes and stuff like that. No, that was Pistol Pete Maravich. In case you don't know, he didn't get the credit for doing these crazy no-look passes through his legs, behind the back, or whatever. But Magic was the great playmaker, but Pistol Pete Maravich was the real innovator of that. And we always give our thanks to Pistol Pete, because if it wasn't for guys like him, guys like Magic wouldn't have a model, in my opinion, to go through. Of course, we have to disclaim that because you never know, right? Somebody may get irritated and upset. Get over yourselves. But even in the National Football League, we have the Players Go to playerscongress.com. One of our partners, which is the Retired Players Congress, the old guys that played in the NFL back in the day, they didn't get paid hardly anything. They get paid maybe $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a year. They are the ones that paved the road for these guys to make $50 million a year in today's game for playing half the effort of what those guys did. Yes, an astounding round of boos comes to them because, I got a hangnail. I can't play today. Give me a damn break. So it was people like yourself that did stuff before everybody else did it, and you got no credit for it? Now they sort of acknowledge you. Right? But they don't necessarily say, hey, here's this pile of gold, right? We won't even give you a gold medal. We're not going to give you nothing except we'll give you a pat on the head. How you like the circus hat, by the way? This is great stuff. Right? But at the end of the day, you didn't get the credit for it until whatever. And you certainly didn't get the recognition for it from back in the day. Talk about that.
We didn't. And that was hurtful at the time. And, we're all still a little bit salty. I am so grateful that gymnasts and everyone gets their applause, and they get what we didn't get. If for anything, the environment is much better than it used to be. And there's still a lot of work that needs to be done around that, because when you have these athletes that are creating millions and billions in profits for these nonprofit organizations and coming out with no money, that's a real issue. So now you see the NCAA, you can make millions from that. You don't have to give up making millions to be able to have a college scholarship. That wasn't a pathway for me because acrobatic gymnastics is not in the NCAA. So that was another reason of why I had to go straight into circus or straight into Cirque du Soleil, which I'm still very grateful for. But there's many more opportunities now for all of these gymnasts to have the recognition that they deserve, to have the money, the sponsorships, and then to essentially be able to retire and probably never have to work again. When you see that your career could end overnight, you never know what's going to happen. A pandemic may help you to lose your career, an injury or a sickness. It could be any of those things. You can also just size yourself out. You could grow too much.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of those older athletes from pick your favorite sport, they didn't get paid hardly anything. I mean, me personally, I got paid $1,200 a month to play baseball. It was embarrassing, but I did what I loved. It was great. But we think of these guys now with these ridiculous contracts, $700 million. Give me a break. That guy's not worth that money. I'm sorry. It is what it is. But look at this. All the NIL money. And we couldn't get paid anything. We couldn't do anything that would destroy our amateur status, right? It would basically, we would lose our scholarships or whatnot in college, and that would be the end of it. As soon as you took $1 from a booster or anybody, you've gone from amateur standing to a paid professional. And so nowadays, ironically, for some universities or whatnot that were given the death sentence, like SMU was given the death sentence for football because there was a big controversy in pay and all this other crap. Well, they should have looked at John Wooden in basketball at UCLA back in the 1960s and 70s. But the point is, they were paying athletes back then, but were they? Now, I heard that from two of his players, two players that played for him. They said very clearly, they got, they got their money. You're right. And that was before all of that stuff happened. So at the end of the day, people like yourself who should be given some honorarium on a regular basis, some kind of a retirement, whatever. If you're the innovators of it, you have not been compensated because everything now today is all about what? Oh yeah, it's all about show me the money, right? If you can't gamble on it and this and that, all the TV contracts, you and all the other innovators back in the day should be getting theirs, but you're not getting any tribute. Like back in the old days, back in the old neighborhood, right? In certain movies, you see certain guys getting their tribute, if you know what I mean, right? I mean, that's kind of how it worked. Right? You got to pay the people that kind of paved the road for you. But you didn't get yours. Other people didn't get yours or get theirs. Well, the other people got yours. But reality is you did not get the financial recognition. You may have gotten an honorary Olympic whatever. Big deal. Is it, at the end of the day, okay, do you have a gold medal? Were you given the opportunity for a gold medal? No, you weren't. Are you at least compensated because you couldn't compete for a gold medal? No, you weren't able to. How is that fair? Take 1 minute and talk about that, then we're going to wrap this thing up.
Well, I don't think that it's fair. I think that that's where the advocating comes in and that we see these environments changing. There is a petition that circulates probably every year in getting acrobatic gymnastics recognized as an Olympic sport. And maybe when it's recognized as an Olympic sport, we will get those honorary statuses, but we'll also get something, that is, I think, kind of akin to show me the money. I think that there should be a pension, a long-lasting one, for all gymnasts that competed at a certain level. And again, that's where the advocacy and voicing what the environment needs and forcing them to make these changes on behalf of gymnasts that competed, that gave their childhoods, that gave their lives, that gave their health, that gave their bodies, that gave their overall mental health to creating these billion-dollar nonprofit entities. I will say that again, billion-dollar nonprofit entities that end up paying $0 for all of those achievements that you see, unless you can go and get picked up by your sponsorship or be very, very savvy and advocate on your behalf and get someone to take you on.
You know what? I would think part of that money should come from the TV contracts because that's all soft cost, right? There's no hard inventory. There's nothing else. Just maybe take a portion thereof and give it back to those that actually made this thing what it is today. Now, that to me makes a hell of a lot of sense. And let's face it, baseball does a really good job in taking care of their older people. Football, not so good. Hockey, not so good. Basketball, I don't even know. And I say I don't know because the mad money that these players make, it goes back decades. Football, there was a 1993 collective bargaining issue that basically drew the line in the sand and said, okay, if you're before 93, you're going to stay broke. If you're post 93, you're going to be multimillionaire. And that's for those that actually make it because not everybody makes it. It is very difficult to play professional sports. Make no mistake, folks. I mean, literally 1 out of 10,000 people will have the opportunity to compete for it. But now how many of those hold on to that career more than the 3 to 5 years to qualify for some kind of pension? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, all those TV contracts are paying billions of dollars, just as Shenea was saying. And what do they get for it? They get the big, fat donut. And that itself stinks. If you don't believe it, look it up. I won't tell you to Google it because don't stay away from Google, in my opinion. No thanks. Go to DuckDuckGo. Check it out there. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. A big thanks for Shenea Stiletto, our circus performer. Yes! Come on. We're going to have to bring her back, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Final word, Shenea, how can everybody follow you? Take 10 seconds to talk about that real quick.
Please follow me on all social media platforms at Shenea Stiletto or at Shenea Booth or at Circuspreneur. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. Thank you so much for the support. This was a fabulous opportunity, Sal. It was absolutely magnificent. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Hey, listen, we're having a lot of fun here, and our audience did too. Guess what, folks? We're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, for Shenea Stiletto, I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you next time, again, in about 23 hours. So long, everyone.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.